And then, even more confusion over the state of our nation called Kenya and its politics. Everybody, every important political analyst in the country called Kenya, has been talking about the end of the handshake. Kaput! Gone! And then suddenly, Raila Odinga, who has been missing in action for a long time, over 2 weeks, suddenly reappears and reassures the ODM High Command that the handshake is still firmly in place. And then on April Fool's Day, we get an alert that the president is about to address the nation. And everybody is sure that it is all about the Wuhan virus, Manenos. And everybody is partially right. Because the president indeed, addresses that issue. But he also tours development projects within Nairobi County, the capital of Kenya. And he does not do this alone. He does it with his handshake brother, Raila Odinga. And some Kenyans are very excited to see Raila Odinga again, after a long time. And Agwambo tells us that he has been very sick. Nilikuwa hali maututi, he tells us. But now I am okay. Niko sawa sasa, Raila tells us. After testing positive, after falling ill, he tells us he is now okay and he is negative. And President Uhuru Kenyatta addresses the current lockdown in the country and reminds us that it is not countrywide. It is just 5 counties. And then he gives us even more information than usual. The president tells us that experts told him that the only way he can control the situation concerning the pandemic is to shut down, lock down the entire country. But he tells us he strongly resisted this because of the economic devastation it would bring upon our country, which we all know currently has an economy that is limping badly. When somebody is limping badly, if you hit them on that spot, not very hard, just a bit, on the spot that is causing them to limp, they'll be down with pain. And I'm talking about the economy of Kenya. Now, let us put this all together, dissect it, and try to make some sense out of these recent events in our country. And to do this, we need to divide everything into 2 neat, separate compartments. Number 1, Kenyan politics. And number 2, Kenyan politics as it's being impacted by powerful outside forces. To simplify it even further for clarity, number 1, internal pressures, and number 2, external pressures. Internal pressures is all about 2022 succession politics. which has reached a boiling point, in my view. And external pressures is the Wuhan virus, which in my view has also reached boiling point. And I'm talking about the politics around it. And let's start with number 2. We'll finish off with the very hot, boiling 2022 succession politics. And try to answer the question, the mystery of what is really happening with the handshake. The official statistics tell us very clearly that infections have been climbing rapidly. The official statistics also tell us that deaths as a result of the pandemic have also been climbing rapidly. Now, according to those keeping an eye globally on the pandemic, this cannot be allowed to continue. And a country does nothing. It is unacceptable, according to them. And these are people focused on health issues, and on science, allegedly. And so they don't want to know about your economy. They are only focused on saving lives and controlling the pandemic. And so their recommendations are as follows. Lock down the entire country. Number 2, lock down churches and all religious gatherings across the entire country. Number 3, enforce all the protocols linked to controlling the pandemic. Wearing of masks, social distancing, etc., etc. Now, just take a minute, if you will, to wear the government hat. There are countries, including Rwanda and neighboring Uganda, who have completely locked down the entire countries. And they have organized feeding programs for the vulnerable in society. Now, even with all the aid and assistance and financial support, is this viable in the country called Kenya, where we know that we have something called brutal corruption right up to the grassroots level? We even have a history, believe it or not, where famine food has been sold by government officials. At the grassroots level, we're talking about chiefs, we're talking about local administrators, etc., etc. Now just put this into perspective. Usually this kind of food is sent to people who are starving to death. And so somebody takes this food, some of this food, and sells it, which means that some of the people whose lives would have been saved in this crisis will not be saved. Just absorb that for a minute. That is brutal. That is sad, beyond sad. But that is what has happened in Kenya. And trust me, not once, not even twice, much more than that. And we all know, hopefully, that it is much easier to govern a people who are well fed than to govern a people who are desperate and starving. And so what happened here is that our government decided to comply. But instead of shutting down the entire country, what happened here is that we shut down the economic engine of the country as far as personnel and manpower is concerned. Nairobi, Nakuru, Kajiado, Kiambu, and Machakos. And the lockdown is such that you can move within these 5 counties, but you can't move out of this particular area because all these 5 counties are clustered together. As I heard somebody put it, wacha wagonjwa watembeleane, lakini wasipeleke ugonjwa nje ya hizi kaunti 5. And meanwhile, there is still free movement in and out of products, farm produce, food, etc., etc. The whole idea is to minimize as much as possible on the economic impact of this lockdown. That is what has been done. And remember, while all this is unfolding, the government is under intense pressure from outside forces. And the options of our powerful government are very limited because they cannot afford a situation where the country is locked out of the international community as far as the control of the pandemic is concerned. That is extremely important to note. Now let's look at this through the eyes of the ordinary Kenyan. The ordinary Kenyan does not know and does not want to know about any external pressures. What they know is that last year's lockdown took away their livelihoods, made life very difficult, for many unbearable. And now, just when they were trying to start to recover from this situation, another lockdown. Many are angry, understandably so. And the government knows this. Has been monitoring the situation very carefully. Hence, the April Fool's Day statement from the president addressing this issue. What he was telling Kenyans is things are not as bad as you want them to look. They could have been worse with a countrywide shutdown, lockdown. And so in my view, the president was saying, in short, let's work with what we have. Work with me on this. But in my view, most Kenyans are still not seeing. Indeed, many Kenyans in those 5 counties, locked in into those 5 counties, do not see the fact that they've been locked in with Kenya's commercial hub, Nairobi, which means that they can still do a lot of things they would not have been able to do had they been locked out of Nairobi, if you know what I mean. For instance, somebody in Makueni, which neighbors Machakos, has a real problem. They can't travel to Nairobi. Ordering things from Nairobi is not the same thing as traveling to Nairobi, inspecting the goods, making a choice, haggling, finding a better price, and then organizing for the transportation of those goods back to Makueni. It is not the same thing when you have to order when you're stuck in Makueni from Nairobi. Now, there are some other consequences rapidly unfolding. Highly sensitive, I'm afraid, including what happened to a certain Kenyan who refused to comply and forgot or chose to ignore the terms under which they were employed, as well as what we should expect to unfold very shortly. All that is in my latest weekly intelligence briefings, number 53. And because of these difficult times, you now have an option of ordering only one weekly intelligence briefings, or even going for only 1 month's subscription to my weekly intelligence briefings. Details on your screens right now, and repeated in the description area below on this video on YouTube. I highly recommend that you don't miss WIB number 53. And if at the very least you go for the monthly subscription, you will be able to receive all back issues of WIB. Don't miss this opportunity. Anyway, I'm going to repeat the same advice I've been repeating here very often. What you must do is prepare for the future. You really have no option but to prepare. And if you don't prepare, I don't know. Because the devastation that the pandemic has already brought, the effects, even without the latest lockdown, are going to be felt for years to come. And it is wishful thinking for anybody to think this will soon be over. No. Let's now move quickly on to 2022 politics. The big question, which will bring clarity to everything that is unfolding, is as follows. Did somebody want to make it look like the handshake is in trouble? Did somebody want to do this very deliberately? For certain objectives? Or is it really true that the handshake is under political pressure and also under pressure from the deep state? That is the question. By the way, before I forget, in my latest WAB, I also talk about Raila's recent illness. Nilikuwa hali maututi, he told us. We dissect that with shocking revelations. So don't miss it. Details of how you can get hold of it in the description area below. Now, to answer this important question, let us start with what we know for sure. Number one, the two dominant political forces in the country are President Uhuru Kenyatta and his brother, Raila Amolo Odinga. That is a fact. It is clear that they're still in very close consultations over everything that happens in our country. And I mean everything. Their consultations go well beyond politics, well beyond 2022 succession politics. That is crystal clear. Number two, but we also know that the deep state has been plotting and executing moves to weaken the influence of Raila Odinga. That is also crystal clear. In my opinion, the most compelling evidence to prove this is the recently concluded Matuga by-elections, where an ODM candidate lost to an ANC candidate under circumstances that are still not clear. And we saw top ODM officials very angry at what happened at this by-election. But then suddenly, they went mum. Yeah, somebody must have told them to Liza Boli. Yeah, cool down. Yeah, about this issue. Number 3, we know for a fact that the deep state is controlled. The final authority is President Uhuru Kenyatta, who is part of the handshake. So, what is really going on here? In my opinion, one of two things could be happening. Number 1, an elaborate scheme by the handshake principles, to divert attention of Kenyans away from where they do not want the attention of Kenyans to be. Compelling evidence that this is the case was the meeting President Uhuru Kenyatta had with coast governors, the respective governors of Kilifi, Kwale, and Mombasa. You see, this meeting was publicized. Photographs were all over the place of this meeting in session. Now think about it. The president meets with all Kenyans from all walks of lives, all the time, secretly. And we never get to know about these meetings. And this particular meeting with coastal governors could have been secret. There was no need for us to get to know about it. But it was deliberately publicized. Why? Well, we know that one of the things that it did, publicizing this meeting, was that it emphasized, it confirmed the rhetoric that there's a problem with the handshake, that the deep state wants to eat away at the influence of one Raila Odinga. That is the main thing it did, very successfully. And everybody forgot that if that was indeed a deep state operation, it could have been kept top secret. The second possibility, which most Kenyans believe, is that the president is playing Raila Odinga. The whole idea being to box in Raila Odinga, where he has no options left. He can't leave the handshake, and he can't do anything to stop the president, reducing his political influence in certain areas of the country. Now, this second possibility is what a vast majority of Kenyans, and indeed political analysts, believe to be true. However, I don't agree. The evidence, including the piece of evidence I've just given you of the meeting with coastal governors, suggests something different. Now, some people don't like Raila Odinga. That is true. However, we cannot deny the fact that this man, the enigma, is the craftiest political player we've ever seen on these shores. And those who have been up against Raila can tell you, it starts going off in a certain direction. People lay an ambush somewhere along the route, only to discover that he took a U-turn and is operating somewhere very far in the opposite direction. In my view, and I have a lot of compelling reasons to believe what I believe, in my view, what is happening here is that Raila is up to something. The Nigerian movie we have just witnessed seems to suggest there's a problem with the handshake. The script tells us Raila has once again been played. He has been fooled. He has been betrayed. The reality tells us the handshake is still firmly in place and the BBI is on course. Indeed, the lockdown favors Team Keleweke and is a great disadvantage to Team Tangatanga. That is the truth. And one thing that this movie we have been seeing, trying to tell us that there's a problem with the handshake, one thing it has done is to halt Team Tanga Tanga barbs aimed at Raila Odinga. The pressure on Raila Odinga has vanished. Now all we need to do to put all this together is to figure out what our attention is being diverted from. What is it that certain people do not want us to focus our attention on as the Kenyan public? My huge suspicion is that whatever it is still brewing. Yeah, we're yet to see it properly. Maybe it is even staring at us in the face. Yeah, whatever it is, it will become clearer in the days and weeks to come. My experience in Kenyan politics tells me that when you're in a hurry to conclude some kind of analysis, chances of getting it wrong are very high. Yeah, and therefore it is wise always to leave some things hanging. Yeah, and they'll not hang for a long time because sooner or later things become crystal clear. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, please remember to give me a like. And I'd like to remind you about WIB number 53. Mind-boggling. Until next time, this is Kshs Kumekucha.